We play and call it work.
Hey everybody, Matthew here from MiniWarGaming.com, and welcome to the next episode of Traveling Through the Realms of Age of Sigmar. Today we're going to talk about the realm of Shyish, the realm of death. Now this is one of the 4 realms that we have the most information on, and so we actually have quite a bit on the realm of death, considering that Nagash himself, through the malign portents that led up to the release of Age of Sigmar 2.0, was such a big factor in what was going on, and a lot of the armies went and invaded it, that we had lots of short stories and other novels that help us to understand what life in the realm of death is like. Now you might be thinking, life in the realm of death? That doesn't make any sense, but I'll explain it in just a moment. Don't forget that with each of these episodes comes a battle report, and today is no exception. There's a link in the video description below with the battle report that is going to be fought in the realm of death itself, using the realm of death rules and all the spells and stuff that come with that. So it should be a lot of fun to see the spooky realm of death fought over. Now, let's talk about the realm of death itself. You might think, well, the realm of death is just death. It must just be full of skeletons and zombies. Well, you're not wrong. It is full of skeletons and zombies, but it's not full of just death. Remember that we have to think about each realm as a mortal realm, mortal, being alive, that is permeated by the magic that is from that wind of magic. In this case, it's the magic of death. Now, this realm is probably easier to define as an underworld, almost like from Greek and Roman mythology, where, yes, it is where the dead go, or should go, as we're going to find out in a second, but it doesn't mean that mortals can't go and live there. In fact, there are forests, there are mountains, there are oceans and rivers, there are crops being cropped and grown and cultivated, and people eating those crops and staying alive, but there's also plenty of dead. In fact, most of the mortal people who live there, whether they be humans or Duerdans, elves, or whatever else they might be, they often live alongside their dead. So that's a weird way to look at it, but it's actually the case. I read in the book Nagash, the Undying King, the entire book is based around a human living culture, but all their revered dead are alive with them. They're an echo of what they formerly were, and they're skeletons often, and they're used as general laborers and as warriors and protectors. Depends on how powerful they were when they died and how much they can retain their former self. But they lived alongside them, and they worshiped Nagash, and they weren't evil. So just because you worship Nagash doesn't make you evil, even though Nagash kind of has been pitted as one of the evil guys at this point. But I think it's more that he sees himself as the god of death. In fact, when he arrived at the realm of death, or sprung up in the realm of death, however it worked, he saw it as his own dominion, but there were a lot of other gods and goddesses of death. One by one, he conquered them all, either destroying them or folding them into his forces, until he claimed rulership over all the realm of death. This is a little different than some of the other gods. Alariel, for example, might protect the realm of life, but she doesn't quite claim the entire realm as her own. And a lot of the other gods are the same way. They're more maybe the gods of people than they are the gods of a realm. But not Nagash. He claims the realm for himself, but he doesn't just claim the realm, he claims all of death, all souls to be his, and he's not very happy when you take that away from him. More on that in just a second. So when somebody dies, a natural process is that their soul, which is a very loosely defined thing in Age of Sigmar, so don't think of it as some energy force from inside the person, it could actually be the physical person themselves, goes to the realm of death. Where do they go? Well, the realm of death magic is really interesting in that it actually will form based on the belief systems of cultures. Do you believe that heaven is full of chocolate? Well, if you find enough other people to believe in your chocolate religion, and you get enough power behind that, when you die, you literally will go to a place made of chocolate. Now that's a silly example because, well, it's silly, but the realm of death is like that. If there's an entire culture that believes that they're going to go, and they're a culture of barbarians, and they believe that their heaven is to go somewhere that they get to fight for all eternity, well, as they believe this, and as more and more people believe this, the magics in the realm of death start to coalesce together in a certain area, and they'll actually form into this place that when they die, they'll go there, and they get to live out exactly what they thought. Same thing as hells. It's not just heavens, it's hells. If you believe that traitors go to this place, well, if enough people believe that, then they go to that place. So what happens over time? You think, well, then the realm of death must be infinite in size because more and more different ideas are going to spring up over the centuries. But the thing is, as an idea goes out of fashion, or there's less people that are believing in it, then the influence of that part of the realm of death would weaken, and it would generally, in times past, get pulled further and further towards the outside of the realm until it hit that outside area where it just destroys it and rips you apart and turns you into just pure magic. In other words, your soul is not eternal. The stronger you are, the more you can resist that, but eventually all souls even die, and they just succumb to death, the inevitable end of all. Now, I say it used to be that way, but Nagash kind of screwed things up. You see, every realm has something called a realm stone. Realm stone is great concentrated ingots of said magic, and each realm has different kinds of realm stone based upon its type of magic. In the realm of death, the realm stone manifests itself as grave sand, which is actual sand, and it is said that if you could find all the sands that are attuned to your life, that you could actually have immortality, because then you could control where they go. But good luck with that, because, there's a lot of sand. And so Nagash, for hundreds, if not thousands of years, sent out his skeletal minions to the outside of the realm where the magic was strongest, and because they were skeletons, they didn't care about dying. And they, one by one, brought each grain of sand. Each grain was so powerful that they could only hold one at a time towards the center. And he took the grain and he turned it into glass, and he turned that glass into bricks, and he started building his huge structures out of pure primordial realm stone. And he made this huge inverted pyramid. And the idea of all this was eventually to spread his death magic to all the other realms and eventually conquer them all, because a lot of people were keeping souls away from him. Sigmar would, whenever a Stormcast Eternal dies, the soul would go back to the realm of Azir. You've got the elves who all guard their souls. You've got the Idoneth Deepkin who steal souls. You've got Chaos who, when their followers die, they pull their souls into the realm of Chaos. Everybody has their ways of not letting Nagash have their souls. And so by doing this, and he tried to set off this ritual, which was foiled by some Skaven, and it reversed the polarity, if you will, of the realm, so that instead of magic going outward towards the outside, now it gets pulled inward. In fact, that huge pyramid spun up so fast that it turned into a swirling vortex, and it became known as the Great Inversion. So now when a culture no longer believes in a certain afterlife, it drifts towards that center area until it is consumed by the Great Vortex of Death. But in the meantime, if you believe it, it will actually exist in the realm of death. Now, if you believe it by yourself, that's not going to be enough unless you're a particularly powerful person. It's more like entire cultures that do believe it. And the cool thing is, as much as it talks about, when I die, I go there, there can be living people living there as well. So you have entire cities, you have entire locations. Some really interesting places, for example, Shadespire, which you may have heard of because it has its own game now, was a city where people took the grave sand and turned it into glass, and they used that glass to trap their souls when they would die, and so they would go on to live in the structures, and so they can continue to converse and give their wisdom to the next generations. When Nagash found out about this, he wasn't a big fan because they were keeping their souls from going to him, and because he likes to consume souls because it makes himself more powerful. And so he curses the whole place and basically throws in this huge amount of magic and curses it so bad that now nobody can escape this place. And there's constant people that try to go in and figure out the secret of Shadespire, but they find themselves dying, being reborn, dying, being reborn, dying, being reborn. And it basically is a corruption of this whole cycle of life. And that's their punishment for having the hubris to think that they could deny Nagash his due. So we have all sorts of neat places like that represent. This very typical of what you'd expect of a place of death. In the book Nagash the Undying King, they focus a lot on some northern lands that are very cold, and they would go through frozen oceans, but there was entire civilizations. They talked about hundreds of kingdoms of people that lived there, or at least once lived there. And Nurgle actually has a particular interest in the realm of death. You might think, oh, wait a second, that doesn't make any sense. Nurgle's a big fan of life. But remember, Nurgle is a big fan of the cycle of life, and a big part of that cycle is death. And so he wanted to go there and conquer it, and he wasn't satisfied with just the realm of life. So he was a big part of, in the Age of Chaos, of infiltrating or infesting the realm of death. Khorne was a big fan too, but mainly because he was interested in the Afterlives, where people believe they went and got to fight forever. He's like, oh, I want to go there, because that sounds like heaven to me. and he tried to conquer those areas. So yes, the realm of death was greatly conquered by the Chaos Gods during the Age of Chaos, and then later on liberated with the help from, well, many forces, the Stormcast Eternals being one of them. And then in the end, that's when Nagash started getting all pouty that he wanted all the souls for himself, and then starts to do his big old reversal of all the magic. And because of this, the death magic is actually permeated through all the other mortal realms a lot more than the other magics are, except for the magic of each realm itself. And it creates this very interesting interaction in the malign sorceries and all of those kind of things. So what is life like in the realm of death? You live alongside your dead, usually. And you just have to live with the fact that you are surrounded by skeletons and zombies, but they aren't all bloodthirsty. It might be your brother who died in an accident, or it might be your grandparents who are passing down their knowledge. You just get to live amongst all of that as mortals. And when you pass on, your souls just get to stay right where they are and continue to live amongst them. It can sound like a nice place. I picture the entire thing kind of having a darker kind of color tint. If you were making a movie and you had a scene that you're shooting and then you retinted it for each realm, I picture this one would have that bluish tint where it always feels like it's kind of nighttime, even though it does have the day and night cycle as well. And then that's what the cultures and life is like. The geography of it is, once again, like the flat earth, and you can kind of picture it like this picture right here where you see it all swirling towards the middle. Now it looks pretty small when you see this picture until you realize that the prime interlands shown right here are actually quite big and have their own humongous continents and civilizations and stories to tell. Plenty of interesting stories to tell within the realm of death. If you want more information on the realm of death, I suggest, once again, the Age of Sigmar core rule book. Also, the book, the Nagash, the Undying King, was a really good read for that as well. And the Malign Portent short stories, especially near the beginning where a lot of the armies were marching into the realm of death. I suggest reading those just to get more tidbits of exactly what life is like there. Thank you so much for watching this. Don't forget to click the link below to go and watch the battle report in the MiniWarGaming Vault, which will be fought in the Realm of Death. It'll be so much fun. Awesome game. And using the Realm of Death rules from both the Age of Sigmar book and from Malign Sorceries as well. Go and check that out. If you're not a Vault member, please consider supporting us, because the Vault members are who allow us to do this. They are what pays 90% of our revenue. YouTube revenues really do not cut it. You can try it out totally for free by clicking the link below. Get instant access to everything in the vault. If you don't like it, just cancel and you won't be billed. Really, we don't want you to be paid. We don't want your money unless you actually want to be a vault member. So please consider helping us out, supporting us. Click the link, go watch that battle report, and happy wargaming.